Welcome to FountainCast. I'm your host today, Kristin Milishowski, Business Engagement Specialist at your Fountain Hills Chamber of Commerce. My partner in crime, Betsy Lavoie, is unable to be here today. However, I have brought in two dynamic women with me today. Let me introduce our listeners to Jill Templeton-Haislip, Global Real Estate Advisor with DeGeorge Partners, Russ Lyon Sotheby's Real Estate. And we also have Julie Jones, owner at Discount Air Care, international best-selling author, international breakthrough coach, and Discount Air Care. Julie, thank you for being here today. Jill, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, I'm excited. Woohoo!
Yes,
Let's get the party started.
It's a pleasure to have you both with us. Two dynamic women who I recognize as being fantastic networking women within our Chamber of Commerce and outside of our chamber as well, working your circles. So it's great to hear some insights from you today, guiding our listeners along who may have a little bit of trouble networking. Let me set the stage for you. We've all been here before, newbie or whether we've been at this 100 times before. We walk into a networking event and we get out of the car and we're like, whew, we get a little nervous. We're walking in like, oh, why did I drive here? I don't know anyone in the room. I don't know who's going to be here. We walk in and the room is packed. And we've got to go network and talk to people and build that like, no trust factor. You two ladies are so successful. So what do you do when you walk into a room like that? What's your first thing that you do?
Well, it's actually really funny that you just described my actual very first networking event. So I had never done any type of networking before. I signed up with a Chamber of Commerce when I lived elsewhere, and I showed up for the breakfast, and I called my husband from sitting out in the parking lot, and I said, I'm not going in. This is stupid. I know nobody here. Why do I want to go in and embarrass myself? And he's like, you already got there so early. You got to go in. I'm like, I don't want to do this. He's like, just do it. So I'm like, fine, I'll be in there 5 minutes and I'll call you back. And I went in and the people were so warm and welcoming. For some reason in my mind, I thought I was going to walk in and people were going to be like, ugh, we don't want to talk to you. But everybody was so fabulous that I was like, how would I not love this? I love talking to people. I love hearing people's stories and connecting with them. And so I think the biggest secret I can give people is get past yourself. Get past it. It's not as scary as you think. And if people are rude to you when you walk in, do you really want to talk to them anyways?
Right.
No, walk past the rude ones and go find the nice ones.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Julie, how about you?
I love that. Well, and you asked what it is. It's a smile. Like walking in with a smile and making eye contact and just simply saying hello. I think that really just sets the stage because a smile is so welcoming. And, when you talk about networking, I think so many times people are so focused in on the wrong thing. Like, oh my gosh, I have to meet all of these people in order to do business with them. Mm-hmm. That is not what networking's about. If you just take a few steps back and you say, oh my gosh, I'm going in to meet some new friends. I'm going in to build some new relationships. That takes the pressure off of you because we've all been in a situation. I mean, remember when you were like in kindergarten and you had to, meet a new friend? What did you do? Hey, do you want to play with me?
Right.
And somehow we forgot about that. Like we've forgotten how to ask people if they want to just simply play, like have fun and, ask better engaging questions rather than what is it that you do? Because we're so much more than what we do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, I think, Jill, to your point as well, getting past ourselves and what you touched on too is the mindset of, all right, what's my focus? How nervous I am walking into this, or that I'm going to meet 3 people tonight. Maybe I can get 3 business cards at this event and I make a few connections. Next time I go back, I'm going to know these people and it's not going to be quite as awkward or clunky as the first time around.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Look, we're so excited to talk because we have so many tips to give. Yes, we're networking. And that's really it because we have to get over the mindset that you think business is going to be done right then and there. Mm-hmm. Like you said, grab a couple of business cards and then it's about developing relationship, right? It's about developing that friendship, that business, because you may get together with them for coffee. Now, I know this has never happened with people who have met me, but they may not like you, right? Like you just said, know, like, and trust. Well, that doesn't happen from just, a 5-minute meeting at a networking thing and be like, okay, yes, I'm going to send all my business to you. It takes time. But what will happen is if you met 3 people, the next time you walk into that networking event and you do see those 3 people, what happens? It gives you more of a sense of confidence because now you're like, oh my gosh, I know that person, I know that person, I know that person. And you start to feel more comfortable in the room.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I also think that some people get confused about what networking is, that it's go in and see how many business cards they can hand out. Well, sure, handing out business cards is important so that you can follow up with one another, but that's not the game. That's not, oh, I left and I handed out 15 business cards. No, how many people did you truly make a connection with? If you only connected with one person, I think that's absolutely a win. And, sometimes it takes more than just the one effort, the one time you handed out the business card to get to know them. So yes, do hand out multiple, but that's not the point of it, to see how many cards you can collect. Also, if you're not going to do anything with them. So many people will leave with a stack and then they don't do anything with it. Well, what was the point of that? Why'd you go? Was it for the drinks or what?
Yes, right. So that is another point. We have this stack of business cards. Oftentimes people don't always follow up, or they may not be receptive to the people that do follow up with them, where there's an opportunity to have a one-on-one with them, or just, even pick up the phone for a few minutes. So I think that is a missed opportunity for people that did make a couple connections, but then they're not following up with them afterwards.
Well, and there's an old saying out there, and it's been said over and over and over again, the fortune is in the follow-up.
Yes.
Right? And that doesn't always necessarily have to mean about business. I've taught different networking courses, and one of the biggest things that you can sometimes do is if I had a conversation with you, Kristin, and we talked about, say, your kids, or about something else in your life, rather than me calling up and asking you about business, or maybe we can do business together, I'm going to call you up and ask you about your kids, or how did that event turn out? Because that catches people off guard to know that you really were listening to them, number one, and number two, that you're interested in them on a personal level rather than just a professional level. It's like what you can do for me, right?
Right.
It's like, really, if you go into it with the whole philosophy as of what can I do for you, how can I help you? How can I support you? Business comes back around. It's just the law of the universe. It's the law of energy, right? However, if it's all about me, it's never gonna happen for you.
100%.
Building that know, like, and trust, I think, is extremely important. I changed my career about 6 years ago, and I was very apprehensive of, what am I going to do? I'm going into a whole new career. I'm going to have to start all over again. People knew who I was. I built such great relationships with them that they had no problems following me over into my career. And for me, that was eye-opening because you think you're out there doing all the right things until you're really tested by it. And that was a kind of a big pat on the back to myself of going, wow, you were truthful with people, you were genuine with them, and they followed you from career to career. And I think that that's the biggest thing you can get out of networking.
Absolutely. People respect that authenticity. And that, even if they can't do business directly with you, they are going to refer you to someone in their network that might need your services because you've built that trust with them. And that's where that referral always comes in at.
Yes.
Wonderful. So let's have a little fun here.
Okay.
A little embarrassing. We've all been to networking events and have something embarrassing happen. How do you recover? Like sometimes you could just cringe and walk away and like, what have you guys ever found yourself? Describe a moment that was cringeworthy and how did you recover from it?
I think the cringeworthy thing for me all the time is when I forget somebody's name.
Yeah.
I just like that really for me because... And if it's somebody like you, Kristin, that I've known forever, and then like you just have that like mind block all of a sudden.
Sure, yes.
Dang, I know their name. So wear name tags. Like please wear name tags to these events because it's always nice to be able to just glance over like, oh yeah, that's what their name is. And it happens to all of us that there is something that, you may or may not do, or you've met them before and you act like maybe you've meeting them for the first time, and they're like, oh yeah, I met you last time. Oh wow, wonderful. I just flow with it,
Yeah.
I mean, because we're all human beings having a human experience. And so if I can laugh at myself, and that's the biggest thing, just laugh at yourself and be like, oh, okay, well, maybe I had one too many waters, right? Right? And then just move forward with it, because you make light of the situation. See, people love to laugh and they love to have fun. So just don't get so serious with yourself and beat yourself up about something that you consider cringeworthy, because probably chances are that other person didn't even notice.
Right. Yes.
Awkward silence, I would say, is when you do your hi, hello, and maybe you talk about the weather because you're uncomfortable and not sure what else to talk about, and then you both just kind of stand there with that grin, and you're like, I wish somebody else would show up so I could talk to somebody else. And I think that people need to shift their mindset and think of the next question. Where's your next vacation? Where did you vacation? It's a new year. What's your New Year's resolution? Come up with something rather than both people standing there awkwardly going, gosh, I wish somebody else would come up.
Right.
And you know what topic really usually works is people's pets.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
love
mean,
that.
people love to talk about their pets or their kids. But since I don't have kids, I mean, that can create awkward silence too. Well, tell me about your kids. And then they say, well, tell me about yours. Well, I don't have any. I just wanted to know about yours, right?
Uh-huh.
But it's like people love to talk about their animals and, dogs and cats and squirrels and whatever
Right.
else that people have, right?
Do people talk to you about squirrels?
Well, they call me a squirrel. Shiny object syndrome, right? But that's one of those things where there's always something. Or what do you like to do for fun? Like, ask a question that you would like to be asked, right?
Oh, that's great advice.
Because it's one of those things, because then maybe that that's something you'd like to share and talk about. So just ask them the question, and hopefully you won't get the awkward silence.
Right?
Yes.
And something you two can connect on also, like you said, yes, it's nice to ask about other people's children, but I also don't have kids. I have stepkids, but that's maybe a little different. But anyways, if we can talk and relate on pets or vacations or something like that, then we can really engage in a conversation, because you don't want it to then turn into another awkward silence. Plus, then maybe you can get some tidbits or find out that there could be a connection to somebody else in there. See how it can kind of weave down a road.
Yeah.
Well, since this
absolutely.
is the FountainCast, maybe you ask somebody, hey, who's your favorite chamber employee, right?
Yes. I'm sure they'll all say Kristin. Sorry, team. No, I'm kidding.
Sorry, Betsy. That's what happens when you're not here.
That's right. That's right. Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, I will also share a story. I was recently at an event a few months ago. I had hot tea and did not have the lid secured tightly on it. Ended up wearing like the tea all down the front of me. And I looked down and I was with Betsy and I'm like, oh my gosh, Betsy, just spilled tea, like all down the front of me. I just laughed about it, to the point. And I actually just went up to someone who was giving away the like dry cloths or what. I'm like, I need one of those because, so we were able to actually strike up a conversation over it and make light of it. And I'm like, well, this will dry quick, But those things do happen. And, I don't think anyone remembered me at the next event that I went to. Like, oh, she's the lady that spilled on herself last time. So, you do. You just have to keep light of it and just keep going back and showing up again and again. It gets easier every time we do it. And before we know it, we can walk into a room. We have connections in there and it gets more comfortable. And then I think that leads to maybe conquering a different room, right? Sometimes we know everyone in a certain network or a certain circle, and then maybe, you've got to look outside a little bit and you're starting all over again in a circle that you don't know anyone, but hopefully it feels a little bit easier every time that we do it.
Right.
Because you make a valid point. Like, as adults, and again, we forget about the simplicity of how we made friends when we were 5 years old. Like, I joked about that, but it really is truly the case because when I first moved to Fountain Hills and not having kids and not working yet because I had moved here without a job and everything else, and I was living in an apartment complex, but it's like, how do you meet people? Like those certain outlets where you no longer have the ability to always be meeting people. Because if you don't have kids in school, where that takes out a whole component, even if you're going to church or doing something else, it takes time, right? But like the skills that you get from networking are skills that can be applied in every aspect of life. And it's no different than even like with social media, with all the social media, it's still a form of networking. If somebody friend requests you, you don't pounce on them right away, right? You know, it's like, hey, let's develop a friendship or let's take it offline, right? You know, that's really the key.
Yep, absolutely. This has been fantastic today, ladies. We've learned quite a bit about how to network and how to not necessarily be so transactional, but build that know trust factor among your peers, which is key to doing business. I've said it before on this podcast, and I'll say it again. It is a circle that never stops giving. Julie, Jill, you both touched on that today. What we send out comes back, and how we get to know people and build that trust with them and that reciprocity, then it ends up coming back to you in the form of business. Would you like to share any other parting thoughts today?
Yes, I would like to share a secret that you and I both know well.
Yes.
Is Toastmasters. I encourage anybody and everybody to be a part of Toastmasters, whether you do it for 3 months, 6 months. Gosh, how many years have you been in it now?
Yes.
That truly will help you to feel more comfortable in a networking environment. Some people think of it as just a public speaking opportunity, and yes, it will help you with that, but it also helps you to think outside of the box of questions that you can ask people when you're at networking, maybe being more comfortable there. I did Toastmasters for a few years, absolutely loved it. I highly encourage it for anybody. I think it would really help people who are super nervous about any networking public speaking. So that's my little trade secret.
That's a great trade secret. I love that one. And for me, there's twofold. It's be you. Just be yourself. It's enough, right? And even tell people, hey, this is my first event and I'm a little nervous. People love that. And they will grab you by the hand and they will start introducing you to people because they want you to be, warm and welcome and everything else. The second thing is go in with a plan. I still, I've been networking for 20 some years, however long it's been. And I always go in, I'm going to reconnect with a couple of people that maybe I haven't seen for a while and I want to continue to build that relationship. And then I'm going to go meet 2 new people, whatever it is. I'm not, as I like to call it, spray and pray. That's what you're talking about with throwing out all the, the cards out there. It's I just go in and I have that set plan of who am I going to meet. And maybe find the person that's off to the side that you can tell that they're nervous, that it's their first time networking, and make them go feel warm and welcomed.
Fantastic. Excellent advice today, ladies. Thank you so much for sharing with our listeners and our chamber members. I can't wait to watch them implement these at our next networking event. It's been a pleasure, Julie Jones and Jill Templeton-Haislip, to have you with us today. We'll see you next time.